Hello, fellow web nerds. My name is Megan McNames, and although this picture doesn't look like it, I'm an instructor of journalism and digital media at Ball State University. I also happen to like baby goats and really baby animals of any kind. My email address is megan.mcnames@gmail.com, so feel free to send me any questions you might have about what I'm about to present. In this video, I'm going to review a lecture that I gave at the 2013 Fall Indiana High School Press Association convention. I wasn't able to capture it while I was there, but that's okay. I'm redoing it now. In this lecture, I'm going to talk about writing for the web, and I'm going to provide evidence-based recommendations for how you can write for the web to attract and retain your audiences. So I'll cover how people read the web, I'll discuss the information sent, writing web content, planning web content, and writing for robots. So first of all, let's go back and think about how do we know how people read the web? Well, we've studied web readership. Not me specifically. A lot of my evidence I'm using here comes from Jacob Nielsen, a usability researcher who's been researching how people read the web for a couple decades with different users and different types of research. One type of research that is really helpful when we're trying to understand how people read something is eye tracking research. And you see in this photo an eye tracking device. This is a piece of equipment that allows us, and there's all different kinds, this is not the only brand available, but it allows us to track what people are looking at. So this headset is able to determine what a person looks at. This kind of technology has been used to understand print readership, online readership, tablet readership, TV watching habits, but a lot of Jacob Nielsen's research comes from eye tracking research. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between print and the web. In print, we have author-driven work. Print items are pre-packaged, and they provide a few selected options. Gatekeeping occurs heavily in print. The reader is basically given info and asked to choose among those options, which are limited and selected by an editor. Online, people have a different sense of what they're doing. We're in the Web 2.0 era. The Web 2.0 refers to the idea of the internet as a place for interaction and services, search, social media. People use the web in Web 2.0 to do things, to accomplish things, to work. And before Web 2.0, before technologies like web apps and search engines, the web was very much just a system of pages, and you had to know a lot in order to make a page. And so you didn't have a lot of different viewpoints and items available. It was kind of more like print. People who knew what they were doing with programming were sort of the gatekeepers. But now it's not like that. We're in Web 2.0. Everyone contributes. You have the ability to publish your own blog, to upload your own photos, and everyone is able to search and to perform work through web services. So in the web, everything is very user-driven. People expect things to be customizable. They expect to be able to choose from a seemingly unlimited set of options. They self-select what they want to read, and in fact, there are studies showing that people who lean a certain way politically tend to only read blogs or news sources that agree with them already. And online, you search for info. You're not being handed something, you're looking around for it. This is called information foraging. People are constantly looking for information that satiates their needs. Whereas with print, you're being given something that someone else has put together that may or may not have the information you need. So the mindset a reader brings to the computer when they're browsing the internet is so much different from the mindset a reader who picks up a newspaper brings to that experience. Again, print is all about receiving information from a few presented choices, while the web is all about foraging for information from seemingly unlimited choices. So to understand how to write for the web, there's a few things we need to know. First, we need to know how people read the web so that people can understand the information, and so that when they're doing information foraging, they understand that we're a great source for that information they need. We also need to understand a little bit about how search engines read the web so people can find our information and learn about us and start coming to us as a source. So let's talk about how people read the web. Web audiences scan a web page and decide within 6 to 8 seconds whether the page is what they are looking for. So you have just 6 to 8 seconds to sort of yell out from the page, hey, this is what you need. This can be difficult. In order to do that, it helps to understand how people read online, and that's what we're going to talk about. In print, there are 3 types of readers: scanners, samplers, and comprehensive readers. Scanners are people who sort of, their eye darts around the page and they get a sense of what the page is and whether or not they're interested in it. Samplers are people who might read headlines, they might read captions, they read samples of the different articles, and then if they're interested in one, they'll read the whole thing. Comprehensive readers are people who are going to read regardless of whether anything is really interesting to them. They're going to sit and read the whole thing. There are still people who sit and read the New York Times every day from front to back. These are your comprehensive readers. People who are committed to reading because, you know, it's leisurely, it's how they relax, something like that. When people look at a print page, their eye kind of darts around it in a Z shape and on first look to get a sense of what the design is. Online, people scan the page in an F-shaped pattern, and these are outputs of an eye tracking study. So wherever you see red, this is called a heat map, wherever you see red, people spent more time looking. Wherever it fades out to blue, they spent less, and where it's gray, they didn't really look. So people online tend to sort of scan the page in this F-shaped pattern. That means they spend the most time at the top left, and as the page gets longer and longer, they look less and less. And when people scan in this pattern, what they're doing is looking for an information scent. They're doing information foraging. So you need to leave an information scent, something that lets people know what the page is about. So the home page of your site should have a very heavy information scent. Because web readers scan, they only look at a few things. They're only spending 6 to 8 seconds looking through that information scent to try and determine if what they're looking at is what they want. So within 6 to 8 seconds, you need to yell at them, "This is what you want." And you do that with the information scent by writing headlines that are really descriptive, by creating links that sort of draw attention because they're differently colored and have an underline, and they're links that are descriptive and tell them what the link goes to, by using subheads, by using summaries and lists. So let's take a look at the information scent of the BBC. I've highlighted in red all the areas that draw your interest within 6 to 8 seconds. So if you only spend 6 seconds on the site, I've highlighted the areas that you're likely to sort of see, just even if it's out of the corner of your eye. So you see the logo, you see the top sports story is the biggest, you see FA supports Hodgson over joke, you see this picture of these 2 men, you see technology of business and a picture of children, you see a news section, you see a business section, a sports section, a culture section, and the pictures stand out to you. So if you get nothing else from this page, you get the idea that there are nicely dressed people staring at a camera. There's a picture from someplace in Africa. You can get the sense, even without reading the description, and there's fire somewhere. And you also get the sense that there's sports, news, business, and culture on this page. So within 6 to 8 seconds, you pick all of that up because of these big, bold headlines and pictures. Now let's look at the information scent of an article. If you look at the article level, again, I've highlighted in red the areas that jump out at you within 6 to 8 seconds. So a nice big bold headline, a summary, a big picture of a guy who looks very unhappy and is dressed nicely. Turns out he's in court, so that sounds about right. And then we have a headline at the bottom with a picture that's obviously a group of people that we're supposed to learn something about. And then on the left, we have some social media. So within 6 to 8 seconds, you get the sense, McNeil trial? Okay, that must be McNeil because he doesn't look happy and his name is in the headline. And then the key players down at the bottom, okay, so this is some sort of court drama that's unfolding. You get a sense of what this is right away, and you can decide within 6 to 8 seconds if you want to stick with this or not. So this means because people are doing this information foraging and they're just looking around for the big bold words and the pictures and the stuff that stands out, this means that people see the first words of the headline, article, bullet points, subheads, etc. first. People pay attention to the content at the bottom least. If you have a package online and you have an article with a bunch of other links you want people to visit, don't put the links at the bottom because people don't look at the bottom. People kind of fatigue by the time they get there. So put those links at the top before the article begins so people will see them and possibly be more interested in them. So just as an example, here's a page from Cracked showing how information foraging is being delivered. We have a headline, we have a byline and a date, we have a picture, body copy, and then this list subhead that pops out. So even within 6 seconds, you get a sense of what this is. 5 myths, pictures of people freaking out. It's no surprise the world gets taken in by hoaxers. Number 5, the surgeon's photograph, Loch Ness Monster. You get a sense of what this is. Even if you don't read the body copy of this page, you know exactly what you're getting into. So how do you provide information to people who aren't really paying attention? People who are looking at your site for 6 to 8 seconds before they commit to actually reading it. Nielsen suggests 3 strategies. Employ scannable text, use concise text, and be objective, which will be really easy for you guys because you're journalists. So how do we make scannable text? Use bulleted or numbered lists, use hyperlinks or bold keywords, include just one idea per paragraph, use the inverted pyramid, try using pull quotes. If you're using WordPress, in the post editor, you can highlight quotes and change them into pull quotes. WordPress will let you do that with the click of a button, and then they'll stand out on the page and be really an interesting thing for people to look at. And try to break the story into meaningful subheads so that people can just look down the page. So here's a meaningful subhead, the surgeon's photograph. So 5 myths, surgeon's photograph. I still know what this is about, even if I only read those 5 words. So break your story into meaningful subheads. Let's take a look at what scannable text looks like. This is an example from the digital sports production page on Ball State's site. And on the left, we have sort of the traditional writing. On the right, scannable text. It has a headline, it has links, and it has a bullet point. So if I'm trying to apply to this program, this is an application page. The left one, I don't want to read all that because I'm online, I'm doing information foraging, I just need the basics. How the heck do I apply? I don't want to read however many words this is. If I look to the right, I know exactly what's going on, even if I just read the bold words, the bullet pointed words, and the hyperlinks. Application process, digital sports production, apply early to university. Okay, this is an application page for the digital sports production at Ball State for the university. What do I need? Resume, demo reel, and examples, letter of recommendation, 500-word essay, transcripts. I can read a quarter of the words in this example and still understand what's going on. To make text scannable, don't use centered text. Choose one color for text and another color for links. Use consistent size of body copy and display copy. So keep your headlines and your body copy size consistent. Now, for non-article content, that means like your about page, your staff page, your policies page, try to get that cut down to about 40% smaller than print version. Nielsen suggests that web writing be 40% smaller. Now, I don't suggest that you break your articles into 40% smaller pieces. You know, don't chop off 40% of your article, because you still want to tell stories, and you're not going to have a good story if you chop 40% of it off for the web. But for your non-article content, try to chop it almost in half and provide only 3 sentences per paragraph. So here's an example of creating concise text in this manner. On the left, we have an about page. On the right, I've rewritten it to be about 40% smaller. So on the left, there's just a lot of wording that's unnecessary. NCHS Live is the student website of North Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. The purpose of NCH Live is to provide a gateway of multimedia broadcasting to the visitors of our site. What is a gateway of multimedia broadcasting? Obviously, if you're providing it on the site, it's to the visitors. So we don't need a lot of this wording. I've replaced this with NCHS Live is the student website of North Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, period. NCHS Live provides multimedia to our visitors, including audio, video, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, text, animations, photos, graphics. So I'm actually even getting ahead of myself. So look through, and if you see an adjective, kill it. And if you see anything that's unnecessary, like down here on the left, one major feature of the website is to get users involved. Okay, do I need to know that's one major feature? On the right, I've rewritten it. NCHS Live seeks to involve users. Much more concise. Now, the last strategy is to create objective text You guys know how to do this. You're journalists, you strive for objectivity. But there's actually a couple ways of making text that's objective that you may not know. For example, including hyperlinks actually increases credibility when the hyperlinks go to credible sources. So on the left, we have an example of an article. On the right, I've added the sources. It's a great thing to show your sources. If you cite data, link to the data. If you cite a major news piece and you're maybe responding to it in your opinion page, cite the major news piece. Send people to your sources so that they know you are trustworthy. You know the source, you've read it, and you're writing about it from a place of knowledge. So use hyperlinks to credible sources to increase your credibility and to become more objective. High quality graphics also increase the credibility of a website. So in Stanford studies of credibility, it turns out that having a website that is pretty and has nice graphics actually increases the credibility, even though that doesn't necessarily make sense. I mean, a website can be totally wrong and have awesome graphics, but people would think it was credible. So just make sure that you're not stretching photos, that you're not taking small photos and trying to blow them up, and that will also increase your credibility. Now, let's talk about hyperlinking. Hyperlinking, again, helps your credibility. It also helps you make text that is scannable, but it can help people stay on your site too. So here on the left, some suggestions for hyperlinking. Good link text is scannable, concise, it's front-loaded. I talked about the information set, and I said, people read the first part of the headline, the first part of the subhead. Same with links. They're going to read the first couple words and maybe not the rest. Make sure that links are descriptive, free of jargon, and predictable. So people need to know where they're going. On the right, this is a bad example. The administration started a new athletic club. For more information on the athletic club, click here. Where does click here go? I mean, it seems like it's probably to some information about the athletic club, but people are very distrustful of links that just say click here. It's like when you get an email from someone you don't know and it has an attachment. You are not going anywhere near that email. You are going to fry it as soon as possible. Same with click here. People don't know where it's supposed to go. They're weary. A better way of writing that would be to say the administration started a new athletic club. That seems like it'll go to the athletic club, right? How about the best? The administration started a new athletic club. Highlight athletic club. This is clearly going to the athletic club. I also suggest using recommended articles at the end of stories. Did I write at the end of stories? That should be at the beginning of stories, but at the end if that's all you can swing. There's WordPress plugins called things like recommended articles that will pull in related articles to every article on your site. So if you have an article about the football team, at the end, WordPress will look through everything you've written, determine which are about the football team based on your tags, and add them to the end. So this can help people stay on your site longer by suggesting to them things they might like. It's like Netflix. When you watch something, Netflix says, hey, have you heard of these? And then it gets you hooked on those. You want to do the same thing. So let's take a look at an example of non-article text that uses scannable, concise, and objective writing. And again, for article text, you still want to be scannable and objective. Concise, you don't necessarily need to be concise. You want to tell the story and give it the space that it needs. But you can use some of these scannable techniques like hyperlinks. On the left, an example from the Ball State website, technology for online and distance ed students. Ooh, that is a doozy. If I look at the hyperlinks, if I'm doing information foraging, here's what I see. Technology, online distance, online classroom tech, Ball State email, several free or discounted software titles, tech support, bsu.edu. Okay, that doesn't really tell me what I need. If I'm a student going to the site and going, I wonder what technology I need because I'm an online student, this does not help me unless I read the whole thing, which I don't want to do. On the right, we've written it scannable, concise, and objective. So technology for online students, high-speed internet, webcam, Ball State email, software. Okay, got it. In about 5 seconds, I know exactly what I need. If I have questions about any of those things, then I can read the text. If I'm not sure what my Ball State email is, I can read that text. If I'm not sure what the deal with the webcam and the microphone is, I can read that text. But I don't have to understand what this is. This is a technique that you can use on your policies page, which you all should have, your staff page, your about page, anywhere where you have text that is pretty much not updated and it's static, you want to use scannable, concise, and objective. If you have articles, stick with scannable and objective. Let's take a second to talk about the fold. Websites have a fold, just like a newspaper. Because of this, people spend more time glancing at the top than they do at the bottom. Now, if they've committed to the article, they'll scroll. But if they're just doing that information foraging and they're trying to understand what this page is about, they're going to look at the top. And here's an eye-tracking heat map showing that. Scrolling is always better than paging. Well, not always. Scrolling is generally better than paging. The conventional wisdom used to be that paging was better than scrolling. It was better to scroll to the bottom and have a button that said next page. But now people are very used to scrolling, especially with tablets like the iPad where they can scroll forever and ever. So scrolling is generally preferable to paging. WordPress will usually give you scrolling. If the top is informative, people will stick with the story and read the bottom. So this is where you want to make sure that you have a nice descriptive headline at the top. You might want to include a summary like CNN did in the example that I showed. And you want to get a lot of credible information up at the top so that people will commit to the story and then scroll down and read it. The other thing you need to know about this is that you want to get information, important information, a summary, and a photo at the top. So if you have a photo, don't put it at the bottom, put it at the top. Quick note on photos while we're there. Photos are the #1 social media activity except for on Twitter. So on Facebook, what are people doing? Most of the clicks are to look through photos. So photos have power online. On websites, however, generic photos are ignored. You guys won't have as much of a problem with this as some people do. Like if people are writing from the position of a business, this might be more difficult for them. But don't have generic photos. People aren't going to look at a picture of the side of a building. They're not going to look at, if you're doing a photo illustration that is, a newspaper set at a desk, they're not going to look at that. It's too generic. People look online at photos that are information carrying and that are real. So the photo has to show them something interesting and it has to be related to the page they're on. So for a football story, if you don't have art, don't put a picture of the football team logo. The football team logo doesn't carry information. It doesn't do anything. People are not going to look at it. Let's talk about content for the web. On the right, you see one of my favorite internet characters, the angry video game nerd. Do not just take your content from your print article and put it online, because people don't come to websites with the same desires, needs, motivations as they do with print. So don't dump everything you have in the print article onto your website. Instead, keep a schedule for your site. Frequent updates to your site affects your credibility. Sites that aren't updated very often are not seen as very credible. So my suggestion here is to create weekly features that are useful to students that you can always have. Maybe when you have people join the class or they join the newspaper or a yearbook publication, maybe to learn, they start out writing these. So you can really start to bank up lots of content. And these are things that aren't necessarily timely. So at the beginning of the semester, you could have all of your writers do 2 senior profiles, and then you can release them every Monday for the entire semester. And if some of them aren't good, then you have time to rewrite them. So I suggest creating weekly features. I don't think what I've suggested here are really the greatest ideas. I want you to go out and come up with your own ideas that are good for your readers in your high school. But you could do something like this. Monday's always a senior profiles put up. Tuesday, there's always a faculty profile. I don't know who would be interested in that if it were about me, but Wednesday, sports preview maybe for the weekend. Thursday could be like a weekend entertainment preview. Friday could be like a best of the week. Like, here's the best photos we took. Here's the best stories. Here's what the most popular stories were. Or maybe you could have like second look Saturday. You come up with what these are. But I suggest, in addition to breaking news as it goes, that you also have some feature-y things that you're going to be able to update every day. So if there's no breaking news one week, you still get to update every day. I also suggest that you update as you go. If you are writing an article on the school play, Fiddler on the Roof, don't just release the article. You're going to do a lot of reporting while you're working on that. Go to a practice and take some Vine videos of each of the characters, each actor in character. Hi, I'm Susie so-and-so and I'm playing this guy. Oh, blah, 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 and she can do her little impression of her character. Report as you go. And then at the end, you'll have a nice, well-researched story, but along the way, you've had content to release onto your website. So if you're writing an article about the football team going to state, don't just write an article. You're going to be talking to a lot of members on the football team. Release it as you go. Add a new quote from one of the players every day, and then tease up to that, here's what so-and-so said about state. Check back Friday for the full story. Oh, the next day, here's what the other guy said about going to state. Check back Friday for the full story. So as you do reporting, you're finding interesting things, just put it online. Don't wait. Don't hoard it all to the end. You can still have that nice, beautiful story at the end of the week that you release, but put things out along the way. Another suggestion for content is to make sure you are releasing useful content. So the Web 2.0 concept is all about people as co-creators of the web and participants and information foraging, searching, and finding services. So try to include information that's useful. Think about articles that are useful and have an information sent that show that. And what I suggest also is using services that interact with other services. So if you're going to review the best place to buy Christmas trees this season, don't just write an article about it. Make a Google map to all of the Christmas tree stores. People can use that map while they're out driving. Maybe they'll be somewhere and they'll go, hey, isn't there a Christmas tree store around here? And instead of going to Google and typing in Christmas tree store, they might think, hey, didn't that school publication have a nice story? Didn't they have reviews and stuff? And they might go to your Google map. Use services like Storify to tell stories. Use Instagram and Vine and pull those onto your website. These are also great ways of marketing yourself. If you're on Instagram, you can pull content from Instagram onto your website, but the fact that it's on Instagram means it might reach people who don't yet know about your site. And then add multimedia to articles so that they're useful. Fact boxes, pull quotes, short videos, infographics, anything you can think of that is useful and visually interesting. So again, just to review Web 2.0 services, try using Google Maps. Here's a great article that one of my students at Ball State did on haunted thrills in Indiana. And so you can see she mapped them all out and then she reviewed them. It's amazing. And unfortunately, this isn't interactive, but when you're on the map, you can click each tab and she has a picture from most of these places and then like a type of review. And if she didn't review it, she pulls reviews from other places. So this is really useful because people can use this while they're out. They don't have to, they can go to your site and they can save some of the stuff to their phone. So you're providing this really great service. So if you're doing an article, say on summer jobs, don't just interview people who have interesting summer jobs. Post who's hiring. Make a map of all the places you can get summer jobs. Make a map of places that are the best places to work. Do a poll of the best places to work. Find things that are useful for people. And then here's an example from of the haunted attractions embedded on a page. So this student put this on her blog and you can see it's embedded right on the page. You can see one of the pop-ups where she talks about what the haunted attraction is. She includes a link to it and it's right on her page. So people are still going to her page to see this, and so she's still getting those view numbers. Okay, here's an example from Storify. Use Storify to present videos, tweets, etc. Let me show you this example online. Okay, here it is on Storify. Now you can embed these into your WordPress site, but in this example, this student has not embedded it anywhere. So I'm showing it to you on Storify. A day in the life of a climbing gym. This is a kind of story. This climbing gym is at Ball State. This is the kind of story that you can sort of use throughout the semester when you need a story to update the web. But what I think is so great about this multimedia presentation is it's really a slice of life done with some interesting social media. So first we have a Vine video. I have the sound off for the presentation. And then she has a YouTube video that she's put together with her interview. She's got an Instagram video. She's got this nice fun facts fact box going on, another video, and then some really interesting pictures with descriptions of each picture. So by the end of this multimedia presentation, you really get a sense of what a day in the life of the climbing gym is like. And this is the kind of thing that she went out and did in an afternoon. So she sort of spent some time, understood what the story was, and then took photos, video, Instagram video, Vine to understand that story, and presents it in this really clever way. And what's nice about this too is when you use social media like Instagram and Vine and YouTube, again, your content is going out there into more places where people might see it, and you can refer back to your website to get that audience to your site. So how do you plan for something like this? I want to talk a little bit about writing, editing, and design. You want to take that writing, editing, and design concept that you may use in your newspaper or a yearbook publication and think about it for the web. So make it multimedia. You always want to plan before you report and get a sense of what the story is and how you can tell it. So I've created a little story assignment sheet mock-up that you're all welcome to use that could be filled out by each reporter that asks them to think as they start the story about who are their sources, what is the story, and how are they going to show that story. So this story is mainly what? A video, a brief, a short article, a long article, an infographic? Could it be a Google map? How about an audio story? Slideshow? What about live coverage? Is it a blog, a cartoon? Is it something else? And then at the bottom, this story also needs, what do we need? Maybe if this story is mainly a long article, what else does it need? A video, an infographic, a Google map? So your reporter should be thinking about these things before they start, so they know what kind of tools to take with them. Do they want to make some Vine videos? They'll need the password to your Vine. So let's talk a little bit about how search engines read the web and subsequently help people find your content. The majority of news articles are found through Google. The next highest sharing source of news articles is Facebook. So people are searching for content online. They're doing that information foraging. And the difficulty is that search engines don't see what you see. So on the left, we see North Central High School Live. But on the right, this is what Google sees. Google sees the raw code, which includes some of the content. So according to Google, the title of the site is NCHS Live. Let's look at one of the inside pages. Here's the article, here's what you see, here's what Google sees. So if we look right here, you'll see that Google thinks this is the official website of North Central High School. So that's great, although it's actually the official publication website of North Central High School. And then let's look at what Google thinks is going on this page. It thinks, there we go, back to the right page. It thinks that this picture is called DSR leaving. Okay, well, that doesn't really tell us what the photo is. So how does Google know what's on this page? You have to really think about how people are going to find your page. So I have some final suggestions to optimize for search engines. You really should be writing for people. Write scannable, objective, and concise pieces. Write good stories, tell them with multimedia, pull in some services, give people something useful. But you also want to make sure what you're doing is good for search engines. So make sure you write a descriptive title for all of your pages. Make sure that you use precise words. So say newspaper. People probably don't go to Google and type in like name of high school publication. They probably look for newspaper or yearbook. Avoid jargon. Make sure that you caption all of your photos and that you fill in the alt text, which if you have WordPress, if you click on a photo to give it a caption, you'll see a space for the alt text. The alt text is what you're telling Google your picture is. If you're using WordPress, I suggest that you change your permalinks from the standard default to the kind of permalink that shows the article name in the URL. Use a couple keywords in your writing. So if you have a school publication page and your school's initials are HHS, don't make the homepage title HHS. Spell out the full name of your high school and then write newspaper website or something like that. And then make sure you name photos. Videos, sadly, are not very searchable. When you embed a video on a page in WordPress, Google just sees that a video is there, but it doesn't know what video. So add some kind of descriptor, a subhead or a caption to that video. And then This is important. Hyperlinking to your site bumps you up in Google search results. So see if you can get some other sites in your area that are willing to do so to put some hyperlinks to your site on their site so that your site, Google will start to think, hey, everyone's linking to this site, must be good, right? I can't stress enough the importance of hyperlinking, even to your own content, really. When you are writing about the football team, if your first paragraph says, you know, on the heels of last week's defeat, highlight heels of last week's defeat and link to your article from last week. That way people who don't know what you're talking about can click on it and still stay on your site and read your content. Other than that, just do your thing, go out there and be awesome. And if you have any questions about writing for the web, planning content for the web, or optimizing for search engines, feel free to send them my way, megan.mcnames@gmail.com.